friends, and welcome to card 5 of my fall series for this year. Today I want to share with you how I created this card using a cute stamp and some pattern papers. I had a lot of fun creating it, so let's get into it. Today I'm using the stamp set from Art Impressions called Feast Mode. I absolutely adore this set. The little fox is my favorite. And I'm also going to be using some pattern papers. These are some pattern papers from Carta and Echo Park. I really like all of the choices inside of these pattern papers. I pre-stamped my image on some Neenah 80-pound cardstock using some MFT Extreme Black ink. The coloring for this, I'm going to reference the stamp packaging. Art Impressions does a really good job in giving you some helpful ways to color in these images, and I really wanted to try coloring these images using the shading that they provide. I've seen a lot of card makers do this, and I wanted to give it a try. When you first start doing this, it kind of seems really weird. It looks really odd, and it doesn't really seem like it's going to come together very good. But once you start adding the other shading and the other colors, it really comes together and it looks really, really cool. I had a lot of fun coloring this card. All of the Copic markers that I'm using are listed along the side, and the nice thing is that you don't have to use a ton of Copics. You only need 2 colors for each kind of area of your image, and the fun part is trying to find these colors and going through my Copics and picking out some that would go together well, that would be good for shading. And again, I had a lot of fun creating this card. I can't wait to color the other images, and it really helped you kind of, practice with your Copics, doing different shading techniques, and again, it was a lot of fun to create. Now, I did have some issues with my camera this week. It kept cutting out, so there's going to be portions where it'll start and I have some things colored. Like here, his face is already colored because my camera just kept shorting out and I wasn't sure what was going on. So I just colored his face in with some warm gray markers, following the same shading patterns that were on the stamp packaging. And instead of doing a purple scarf for this fox, I really wanted to do a nice green one. I think it goes really well with the orange color of his fur and with the pumpkins. I think it seems more fall than using the purple. Now maybe if it was more of like a plum colored purple, I think that would look really cool. But I really like the green here. And again, once you start really getting the shading in and the image starts to come together, it really looks cool. I shared a little snippet of this on my Instagram, and people were really liked it. And I think this is a really cool coloring technique that you could apply to anything, really. Just kind of pick a light source and go with it. So coloring using the Art Impressions shading methods is a good way to practice. Coloring in these pumpkins, and I really like the idea of not doing an orange pumpkin, more of like a tan muted pumpkin, because I think if I did an orange pumpkin, it would kind of clash with the fox's fur. But doing it in these kind of lighter, kind of beigey colors, I think was really cool. And they have pumpkins out there that are this color. They've got pumpkins of every color, which I think is really cool. Going through, just adding that shading to those stems. And I started coloring in the leaves, and of course my video shorted out again. So I just used the same colors that I used throughout the image, the same browns, the same oranges, same yellows. And then I wanted to add a little bit of shading underneath him here, so it didn't look like he was just kind of floating out there. I probably could have added like grass instead of the gray, but I like the gray a little bit better. I think it makes the image pop a little bit more, especially the leaves on the ground. So I just went in with a warm gray marker. I think this was a W1, and then I went in with a W3 and added some shading, kind of following along with the shading that they provided on the fox, just to kind of round out the image. And that finishes up the coloring. It really didn't take me that long, especially having the reference there. It probably took me maybe 20 minutes to color him. It was so fun and easy, and the other images are just as great, and I think you could create a nice little scene with all of these critters getting ready for fall. I just took a circle die and cut out my image here, because he's the main focus, and I'm going to place him on top of my pattern paper, which I already pre-cut just to save a little bit of time. I just used some of my rectangular dies And I went through these pattern papers and picked out ones that I really liked. There were so many to choose from. These pattern papers are perfect. I don't really use a lot of pattern paper, but when I do use it, I love it. It really kind of adds to the image, and I think it's a great way to kind of add some more color for something that's just an image instead of, you know, like a whole scene. I wanted to stamp on the inside of the card another greeting and that little fox again because he's so cute. I had to just add him in the inside. He was a little dirty from stamping him several times because I did practice quite a few times before I got him on video just to kind of get some good color combinations. And that's a really great way to kind of, you know, practice through your Copics or find combinations that are great. It's just practice. Stamp a bunch of images and start coloring. Write down the ones that you like and go from there. So I just used my Simon's stamp cleaner and cleaned him off so he's nice and crisp and got it ready to stamp. And I'm going to stamp him down using some Versa Fine Onyx Black ink. And the sentiment is from the same stamp set as well. Get the fox stamped down first. And I really like how it's nice thin lines. They're not super dark. I think this would be a great image to do no-line coloring. I've attempted no-line coloring in the past. I've done it maybe twice. Never on film because I never like the way that it turns out. I think maybe I just need to practice a little bit more and I might enjoy it, but I think it's a little bit too much for me. I'm a little bit intimidated by no-line watercoloring. Or just no-line coloring. It doesn't have to be watercolor. You can do it with Copics, you can do it with colored pencils, anything. I'm a little intimidated by it yet. Get that other stamp down and we can start assembling our card here. I'm just going to be using some Tombow liquid glue to adhere this nice and flat. The only dimension I have is I add a little bit of Nuvo drops a little bit later. So this is a nice flat one-layer card that is easily to send in the mail. And this pattern paper here with this buffalo check was a little hard to get straight because of the buffalo check. I didn't quite get it perfect, so it was a little hard to kind of eyeball and get it in the right spot. But you can't really tell. I think it turned out great. And the pattern, like I said, the pattern paper in this is so pretty. You can get a lot of inspiration from pattern paper, like color combinations, and kind of help you build a card as well. And I took a nice strip of this teal gingham to go across because I like to add teal into my fall cards. I've mentioned this before. I like adding that touch of color amongst all of those warm, you know, fall muted colors. I think really adds to the scene, and that's why I decided to color his little mug in teal colors. Get that adhered down, and I added the red circle around the other image there just to add a little bit more pop of red, and I think it turned out great. Kind of frames up that little scene there. I'm going to go in and add some details to our little fox here. I didn't want to add a ton because the lighting and the shading were really, really good. It really added to the scene. I just wanted to add a little highlight to his cheeks and his nose. And in the stamp set, there's some detail on his little sweater. So I just went through with my white gel pen and added in some of those dot details just to kind of enhance the artwork that's already there. And then I went in with my Wink of Stella glitter brush pen and added just a little bit of shimmer to the leaves and to his little mug. Once I had that done, I decided I wanted to add a sentiment on the outside of the card. I thought about just leaving it just like this, but I felt like it was unfinished. So I decided to add a greeting from the same stamp set using some carved pumpkin cardstock that I had in my stash, or not carved pumpkin, canned pumpkin that I had in my stash. And I'm using the, I think it's the pumpkin spice season. I can't remember what it is. You'll see it here. But I'm just going to heat emboss that on top of this orange cardstock. I think it'll be a nice way to kind of round out the card and the image, just to kind of pull in maybe that he's drinking some pumpkin spice. He could be drinking a pumpkin spice latte. He could be drinking cider. Personally, I think he's drinking cider just because I'm a cider person, and I think he'd be drinking cider. But here it says, "'Tis the season for pumpkin spice." that's what we've got going on here. And I think it goes good with the image because he's sitting on some pumpkins. I think it's a cute sentiment as well. And I just used a banner die to cut that out. You can use anything to cut it out. You could just trim it out. I decided to use a banner die. I felt like it would kind of help, you know, just add some interest. And then I was deciding on where I wanted to place this. I didn't really want it to cover up too much of my image because I took a lot of time, or, you know, the image turned out really good and I didn't want to cover it up. So I trimmed it out with my infamous paper trimmer. Still very careful with this thing. I'm thinking about getting a smaller one so I don't have to pull that one out all the time. I like having a paper trimmer, especially trimming little banners and things like this. But I don't like to pull out my big one very often because I am still afraid of it. But I like to have it to cut cardstock, you know, card bases, that kind of thing, especially for slimline cards. Just use some dimensional adhesive strips from Darice, and I'm going to get that lined up. And so this sentiment strip and the dimensional drops are the only dimension that are on this card. And I love the way that it turns out. Super cute. And I'm using some autumn red Nouveau drops and some green Nouveau drops. I wish I had like an orange color, but I don't have any orange Nouveau drops. Every time I want to get some, they're always sold out. But I like these ones. Adds the green back in from his little sweater. And that will finish up this card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you're enjoying the series. If you did, hit the like button, as well as to subscribe so you don't miss out on any more videos. And if you hit the notification bell, you'll be notified every time I upload a video. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye! On screen, I've got a few videos that I think you'll enjoy. Consider hitting the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more videos at my YouTube channel.